Welcome back to the second episode. You are here with Alexander de Oliveira, and I am so glad to be hosting you, my viewers, my friends, and my family. Welcome, everybody, to the lounge. First off, I would like to mention that I am recording in a different location, and you might hear sounds here and there, and you might notice an overall difference in sound quality. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. In any case, I do apologize. In my first episode, I did mention that I would be touching on racism and how one can behave in racist situations, how one should carry themselves in a racist situation. So I would like to take my personal experience and share it with you guys, so that hopefully I can shed new light or open up a different perspective on the topic. So, I've lived, just so you guys have an idea of where my experiences do come from. I've lived in South Africa, which was the country where apartheid happened, and there was really like a lot of racial segregation, and that you can still feel the effects of apartheid nowadays, like in the contemporary world. I've also lived in a few European countries, like Portugal, where I'm currently living. I've visited Germany as well, and I've also been to Italy, and I've also lived in Asia, such as Singapore. I've lived in Singapore, and I've visited other Asian countries. And what I'd like to say, like from what I've noticed in all of these places, is that you will always find somebody who loves our culture. When I say our culture, I mean the Black culture, African American culture. But then they don't really respect us. Imagine you are renting a house and you're still disrespectful to the landlord. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like the landlord already gave you his place, which he spent money, he invested in that, he built the foundations, and he let you live there. Okay, you're paying, but you still have to respect the landlord, and that's what I feel. That's what I feel is happening with our culture. Like, okay, cool, you love our culture, but you don't necessarily respect me as a human being, because I've have been in a situation where I've met people that are like, oh, I love this and this and this about your culture, but indirectly they're also like kind of disrespectful, because or they'll bring up like racial stereotypes just to prod a reaction from you, or they will use racial slurs and be like, oh, is it okay if I call you my nigga and stuff? And it's like, no, dude, relax. We're not that close. I didn't change your diapers, so please give me some space. One experience that really sticks out for me in my head is when I was taking an Uber in Singapore, and the lady was very sweet, very very sweet lady, like 5-star rating for her. But a really funny moment is when she's driving and she looks in the rearview mirror and we make eye contact, and like she kind of like looks away, and I was like, okay, like what's happening? And then she's like, hey, could I ask a question? And I was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And it was really ridiculous. She was like, I heard that in Africa, black people eat each other. I was like, okay. Like, so we're cannibals now? Like, I didn't realize that was another stereotype that existed about us. But maybe she, learned it from somewhere. I don't know. But like, yes, like, yeah, do you guys eat each other? The typical stuff, which is like, oh, do you guys ride elephants and stuff like that? And she told me like, the only reason why I don't go to Africa is because I'm scared for myself. Like I'm scared. Like I feel like I wouldn't be safe there. And I actually had to explain to the lady that like Africa is like any place in the world. Like you're not completely safe anywhere. Okay, Singapore is an exception. Like you could walk around like dead at night and nothing would happen. But yeah, totally. Like, no, African people don't eat each other. Maybe there are a few tribes out there that do practice cannibalism still, but like, I feel like they're a minority. But in a more common sense and the more general understanding of Africa is that, we are chilled people and we do love food. And yeah, like, there is no cannibalism. So I really feel like people should try and educate themselves in regards to Africa, in regards to other people around the world, other social groups, other minorities around the world, to avoid these instances of thinking that, of having an idea of a place which is completely incorrect, and then living the rest of your life thinking that that is the correct thing. So I'm more so saying this for your benefit. Like, you don't want to be living your life with like the wrong information in your head. So yeah, people should really educate themselves about it, and then everybody's gonna be like, like, it's not my fault that I don't know. I'm like, full, like, like the latest, most ridiculous trends because you actively go looking for it, or it just pops up now and then. Like, what harm could it cause you to just open your perspective a bit more, or like be more aware of other people that take part in society, you know what I mean? So yeah, and yeah, that's basically my experiences, like, in regards to race, because I've never really been in a situation where I felt in danger. I've never been in a situation where I could have lost my life, but I have witnessed other people, such as my family, such as my friends and my peers, going through, or going through racist situations where people are prodding and like throwing racial slurs and stuff like that. But like, you know, from my perspective, when it comes to such a situation, I always try to ignore the individual that is trying to be aggressive, that is trying to get a reaction from me, because I don't want to give power to the situation. I don't want to empower the person, because then the person is going to feel like he can take what he did here with me and do it to another person, and that other person might not have that patience. That other person might not be mentally prepared or emotionally prepared for such a situation. So I always try and resolve the issue there and then, and if there's an opportunity for learning, amazing. One thing that has been bothering me about the recent storm about race and racism and systemic racism is when I saw the video of George Floyd, and I'm really sorry that I'm late to the party. But I really had to mention this because it's when I saw the video, it's one of the few things that really, really twisted my heart. Like, it tugged at my heartstrings, because I was just like, nobody would have enjoyed, nobody would have appreciated dying like that. Nobody. Like, it doesn't make sense that there has to be so much politics involved. It doesn't make sense that people are still arguing that like, oh no, like, the police was just doing their job and whatever. Like, there shouldn't be an argument about such a situation. A man was thrown to the floor and he was basically choked to death because the police used excessive force against him when he wasn't even resisting, and he pleaded for mercy. He asked for mercy. He was asking for help, and he was telling that the police that he was in pain. But even though he did all that, nobody listened, or the police didn't listen, and they still took that man's life away. And they still want to defend themselves, saying that, like, oh, it doesn't make sense defending it. Like, if I was in the police situation, and I did that, I wouldn't even try and defend or twist the story and be like, and twist the story to my favor. I would just take the punishment. And I think society should punish people like like an eye for an eye. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, cool. You obviously took an innocent man's life. There is no way around it. You can't put barriers up so you can avoid losing your job or going to jail or avoid getting the punishment that you need to get. You should just take the punishment. And yeah, because it's for the betterment of society. Because if people are watching this and see that they can bend the rules, they can kind of like wiggle themselves out of a out of a tight situation. Like it will motivate them to carry out these actions because they're like, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. Not only that, but what kind of education are we giving to the youth? What kind of education are we giving to the people watching? And I think it's really sad to be part of a society where you don't necessarily feel safe. Like, what is the point of having the police, which is supposed to protect and serve the people, but as soon as they show up, what you see is not the police, but the Grim Reaper? And I'm not saying that all police are like that. I'm saying that there is a minority. I would never generalize. Like, I know that there are a lot of policemen and women out there doing their jobs, but it's this minority that that causes trouble and don't get punished for it. That's what annoys me, because like, okay, I would understand if it's the majority and it's like really hard to punish the majority, but no, it is a select group of people. It is a minority. It is a bunch of people that think they can take the law in their own hands. And for me, it doesn't matter if it was a black man, if it was an Asian, Indian, white, whatever. It doesn't matter who the person was. It's still a human being dying in such a painful way. It's a family losing a member. It's a mother losing a child. This should not be something that we should argue about if it was right or wrong. There should not be politics about it. There should no. In my opinion, it is wrong. Nobody should die like that. And I think if we had that level of sympathy towards each other, if we had that level of understanding towards each other, we could avoid so many situations like these. So many situations like these. Okay, cool. I get it. That things are complicated. There's a lot of factors from the past that have delayed effects on our society right now. And that could be, or that could potentially serve as like a reason that these things are happening. But I still think it's inexcusable. And I think that if you have the power to change it, you should change it. Whoever you are. And everyone has the power to do that. Everyone has the power to get together and influence, to get together and approach the issue and try and provide a solution, which has been done. Ever since the George Floyd situation, the laws have been changed in America and everything like that. But my main concern is the mentality behind the people that commit such atrocities. Okay, the laws have changed so that you can punish these people. But, like, will they change their way of thinking? Maybe not. They'll be punished and be, like, resentful. Or maybe they'll reflect and really realize, okay, we did mess up. We did do something wrong. But I feel like that is a common insensitivity amongst us humans. Like, we are now so insensitive to causing harm to each other because we cause harm to ourselves on a daily basis. We now think that if you're not my friend, if you're not my family, if I don't know you, you don't matter in my life. But we're all connected. And I want to see everybody, even those that I don't know, living their best life. I don't want to see anybody dying the way that George Floyd died. I don't want to see anybody being disrespected. I don't want to see anybody going through such an intense racial experience that it traumatizes them, and this trauma is then passed on to future generations. Because imagine, like, I've heard so many people saying that, like, oh, all white people are evil, all white people are trying to kill us, everybody, like, all white people are against us, but it's not true. It's really not true. Like, I've met a lot of white people that they understand the sensitivity about the situation. They are there to stand with us. There are a lot of people that understand how wrong the situation is, and they're ready to stand with us. They're ready to stand against injustice and unfairness. And I think once you lose that train of thought that we are different, that our differences should be the reason why we should just stay in our lane. Like, okay, like, is it really necessary? Like, we are all humans. We all have a heart. We all have blood. We all breathe. We all have the same functions. We all take a shit. We all pee. We all fuck up. We all do shit all the time. So is there really a necessity to stress on our differences in a negative way? If we are different, that's good. Life is meant to be different. Imagine if everybody was the same. That would be hell. At least for me. Like, oh, I wouldn't be able to live in a world where everybody is the same. But yeah, that's my point of view on the whole George Floyd situation. That's my point of view on people being racist and people being violent and like this, and passing on this mentality that we have enemies. We don't have enemies. We don't. Yeah, there are a few people that mess up and everything like that, but the few shouldn't be the cover, the front cover, the front page for the rest of the people that don't cause any harm, for the rest of the people that are against these terrible actions. And another thing I realize is that a lot of people talk about how can I say systemic racism, and that systemic racism exists now. Okay, I feel that back in the day, like I mentioned, apartheid, that I would call systemic racism, because the system was purposely built to segregate the population. Essentially, there were almost 3 economies happening in South Africa. One for the white people, one for the blacks, and one for the coloreds, or the mixed race people. That, I would say, is systemic racism, because the system was purposely built to oppress a group of people, and to promote unfair treatment. But nowadays we don't have, or at least in my opinion, we don't have such a system. What we are experiencing is the ripple effect of the past. And I also think that this ripple effect is being fed by people being oversensitive as well. Because sometimes we call out racist situations that are not racist at all, because we fail to consider both sides of the story. I noticed that a lot of people that once you see a white male and once you see a white man or woman and a black man or woman, you're already like, oh crap, like this must be a racist situation. Not all the time, but when people think about racism, it's always like, white and black is always against different races and stuff like that, and whatever. But I would also like to raise the fact that black people are extremely, extremely rough with other black people as well. Black people are discriminatory against other black people as well. So much so that, using America as an example, a lot of crimes are committed, like, it's white on white and black on black crimes. A lot of crimes. So we really have to take in consideration, and we really have to be thoughtful of when we want to call out a racist situation, and we really need to consider all of the facts, and both sides of the story when we want to talk about systemic racism. Because, okay, yeah, there might be laws that are passed that will affect a minority, that will affect a group of people. But maybe that law wasn't specifically put in place to put you down, or to put that group down, but for some other gain, for some other political gain. Because from my understanding, if a government were to ever pass a law where it's just like, we're passing this law because we really don't want to see black people having success in life, I feel like then, yeah, okay, cool. Like, it would be so obvious as systemic racism. That would be systemic racism, and it wouldn't go. That wouldn't pass with us, with anybody. But yeah, that's my personal view on racism, on what's happening around the world. And I really hope that we can educate ourselves better. I really hope that we can gain a better understanding that there are other people in this world, other minority groups, and that sometimes the problem originates from us. What are we doing to not, perpetuate? What are we doing to not repeat these actions and these thoughts, and feeding this cycle that's going on? Are we being rational when we're calling somebody out for racism, or when we're calling out a situation as racist? Is there really systemic racism, or is it more individual racism? Individual instances where racism was involved. Because I feel like we now are so sensitive that we're always looking for banter, always. But instead, we should focus on bettering ourselves, so that we can better treat other people, so that society can get better. Because we have bigger problems in this world as well. This world does not revolve only around us, but everything that's alive and everything that's connected to us, and that we're connected with everything. But yeah, thank you very much. I would like to leave you with a few definitions so you can think about it. I've been looking up definitions for racism in Wikipedia. Oh, Wikipedia. We love Wikipedia. We've always used it through school, that so much so that teachers hate it. But yeah, Wikipedia defines racism as the following. Racism is the belief in the superiority of one race over another. Another definition that I found about racism is that racism is the intentional discrimination against another race for no reason at all. And finally, the definition that I found for systemic racism is when laws are created or are put in place that promote unequal treatment of a specific social identity. So once again, people, I implore you to really think about what you do and what you say before you do or say it. Always consider both sides of the story. And I hope you can continue with a lovely day and stay strong, stay healthy, and yeah. Once again, you've been in the care of Alexander de Oliveira. and we took another step on this adventure.